All right, we're back, and I've got all my pieces, and they're all cut. So I've got 6 pieces. Now, you need to find the piece that we labeled the front, this piece. You need to cut it so it's 4 inches in width. So I'm gonna make a mark 4 inches over, and I'm gonna make another mark 4 inches over here, and I'm gonna connect them. Any straight edge will do. Now I'm going to cut this piece with a different saw. So there's my line. Now this is a coping saw. I love the coping saw, and I love this because it is so safe for kids to use. So Laura, we're going to ask you to go over there. And again, if you're having a child cut this, you're clamping it. If you have a large vise like this, you can actually cut it this way. So I think we're gonna have Laura come over here. So, very safe to use. Notice that my hand is not up here. My hand is nowhere near it. So if you have a child using a vise, cutting with any saw, if their hand is on this side, there's no way that they can cut their hand. Now, clearly, this is going to take too long. I don't want to spend that much time on this project, especially if it's a 5-minute project and we're already 12 minutes in. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this one over. You've seen how to use the coping saw. You've seen how to use the clamps. And I'm simply going to trim this down to 4 inches. See that one's split. I'm not that worried about it, but we're cutting with the grain, so it's much easier for wood to split that way. If we're going across the grain like this, the wood is going to be less likely to shear off like it did. So we're going to bring you back over here, because this is going to be the front of our birdhouse, and that's going to need a hole for the bird to enter. So I'm going to use this, and again, I love the cordless equipment. This is 1 3/8. You can use a smaller opening, and I need to drill a hole for my bird to enter just like that. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back over to here, to the floor. This is my scrap wood. I'm going to put that down, and I'm simply going to hold this with my feet, and I'm going to drill into it. I'm going to go through this piece of wood. That's why I put the scrap wood underneath. I don't want to do it on a bench. I don't want to put a hole in that bench. So let's see how this goes. Almost there. There you go. Okay. Take the scrap wood. Let's come on back to here. All right, we've got the front of the birdhouse. Now, we're gonna leave the front of the birdhouse for a moment. We're gonna put together the sides of our birdhouse. Now, sides are gonna go just like this. Now, a couple of things to point out. This is the finished part. I could leave that up or I could put it down. I'm gonna leave that up, thinking if there's moisture inside of there, that's actually gonna help protect it. Maybe the birds are going to the bathroom inside of their nest. That would make perfect sense. Now, unfortunately, if you look at the side, that looks beautiful. And if you look at this side, my unfinished wood is on the outside. Well, I could have reversed how I drew it on the board to have changed that, but that's being meticulous. I think the birds are gonna love this home because it's not an open air nest. So any way that I make this, it's gonna be fabulous for them. Okay, so now we want to nail the bottom into the side. So here's what we're gonna do. Flip this over for a minute. I'm gonna put in 4 nails. I'm gonna go close to the edge. I'm starting them. so much easier to start your nails on a flat flat surface rather. Okay, now I'm going to then line this up like that. And I'm going to hit this all over. The other part. Pretty good. Take the other part. Line that up. Now, I can see right here, see that split that's happening right there? If I drive that nail in, for sure, this bottom piece is gonna come off. I don't wanna do that. So I'm gonna take this nail out and I'm gonna move it to a different spot. That's that grain in the wood. And actually, because I see it doing that, let's try this. This is a countersink bit, but I'm gonna use it for the drill bit as well. So I'm just gonna start the hole to take off the pressure. Okay. Now, I'm gonna put the nail in, and that won't split the wood. Does that look crooked to you? Yeah, that's because it's crooked. We'll fix that. Now, the back comes next. So, for the back, again, we're gonna start 2 nails. Now, I wanna point this out. See that right there? That's the knot in the wood. And that means when a tree is growing and there's a branch coming out, that's where the knot will show up. And that knot is tough to hammer through. I always avoid cutting or nailing through a knot. It has to be strong to support the branch, but it's going to be where the wood is going to shatter, break, or the nail is going to bend. So I try and work around that. Okay, so this is gonna be the back. Now remember, we want that nice finish side on the outside. So I'm gonna start a nail here, and one there, and there. Let's hope this one doesn't split. And I know what you're thinking. Why don't you start a pilot hole on these ones? Excellent, thank you for the suggestion. These are going to go in very easily. So I'm going to start that one there. I want to make sure it's flush at the bottom. Now, this is pulling in a little bit, and that's fine because I'm going to actually force it out when I put my nail in. Okay. Very crooked on this side. We're going to force that into place. Actually, I'm going to start with this one right here. I do try and keep my other fingers away from the hammer when I can. If you're wondering if real carpenters hit their fingers ever, yeah, quite a bit. It's hard to be a carpenter without hitting your finger once in a while. Okay, I'm going to put this back one in right here. All right, looking better. Now, that front piece, let's see if this fits. Just teasing. Remember that split we had in the bottom? Guess what? It just split. We're going to ignore that part. We're going to pretend that didn't happen. And I'm going to connect this part and this part here. And for this one, oops, I'm going to pilot the hole again. How could I have avoided the split? Well, I think these nails are actually a pretty good size for it. If you wanted to go with a smaller finishing nail, you could. Now, I can put a little glue there. I can repair that. I might put a strip of glue and then put a tiny nail in through here to connect these two parts, but glue will work just fine. We'll call that ventilation. Okay, switching over to this side. Hey everybody, that's Farmer Jonathan who just tried to wander into the video.
Hello everybody.
We have a saying at our farm. You know what our farmer's good at? He's good at farming. When it comes to carpentry, we don't let him do the carpentry. We let him do the farming, however. Now, again, I'm not a carpenter, but I can put some things together. They may be a little crooked, but you know what? There's gonna be a happy family of birds that are living in this house. And I know what you're thinking right now. Wait a minute, Mr. Meehan. You got a big hole in the bottom, you got a big hole in the top. That's true. So the next thing we have to do is gonna put the roof on. And it's gonna look just like that. That's our roof. Now, it's gonna look a lot better, by the way, when we put the bottom in. Install the bottom. And that's going to be our birdhouse. Now, a couple things that you can do for the top. If you want to be able to take the top off, and the truth is, I don't think you really have to be able to take the top off. But if you decide that you want to take the top off to clean it out at the end of every season, you're better off not putting in the nails. You're better off putting screws. So this is where we're truly going to use our countersink. So I'm going to come right up to here, and I'm going to drill in. Down just a little bit, just to make sure those line up. I'm going to now take a screw. This is my impact driver, and I love to use screws when I'm working with kids. They're just so forgiving. You take them out, you can move them around. Much easier to use than nails. Going over to the other side. Okay, now, a couple things that are important to remember. You're not going to build things perfectly the first time. And that's why they invented sandpaper. And that's why they invented caulk, because they help hide your mistakes. But the more you build, the better you're going to get. And if you build this with your child, they're going to feel awfully good about it. Now, the next thing we can do is put a little hole in it, put an eye screw in, and you can hang it from a tree with the eye screw. You could take an eye screw and simply turn it in. I find it easier to make a little pilot hole first. And that's a sample of a birdhouse. Now, once again, go right to the video and you can see how this guy does it. I love what he does, but you're never gonna feel okay with it until after you do it, and then you may wanna build a second one. So we hope you enjoyed the video. We hope you found it helpful, and we will see you again soon.